Dreamy Sakaying, The Beauty of Sakaying Old Street and三峡祖师Temple. This film is just for share. Please advise to remove immediately if any infringement caused. Culture Tour of三峡祖师Temple. The Journey of Discovery of Sanxia. Presentation Part 1. What does Sanxia culture and history docent do? Ladies and gentlemen, we are volunteering culture and history docents, belong to members of Sanxia District Volunteering Docent Group, New Taipei City. Welcome all of you, my friends. Come a long way to attend the worth recalling Sanxia祖师Temple's culture tour activity, The Journey of Discovery of Sanxia. At first, we have to realize that the tour guide or interpreter who guides visitors with business idea of traveling and browsing way, introducing scenic spots and historic relics only. But a docent which I mentioned earlier is far cry from the tour guide or interpreter, especially while guiding visitors with which concerned about high artistic and historic value temple such as Sanxia祖师Temple, the famous Museum of Eastern Art, and also known as the Temple of Birds, or the exhibits as in the National Palace Museum, or cultural valuable museum pieces in Hakka Cultural Museum, and so on. The temple docent, acting as a bridge between visitors and the guided temple, is the catalyst for learning more and detailed information, and in addition, one of the most important things, the docent should guide visitors absolutely true to the original culture and history about the guided articles. It is the docent who guides visitors on their journey of discovery, helping them blend what they already know with what they learn on a culture tour of their journey of discovery. So, if you are getting a little interesting and want to gain some more understanding about祖师Temple, or if you have questions to ask on the way of our journey of discovery of Sanxia, don't be hesitated. It's our pleasure anytime. Just do it. Presentation Part 2. The Top Job. Movement from mainland China to Taiwan. Talking about Sanxia and Sanxia祖师Temple, well, that is a long story. So far as we learn, long times ago substantial members of migration wave of Chinese people moved from mainland China to Taiwan to find a new farmland in 18th century, including people mostly from Quanzhou, Zhangzhou, and Hakka people. During that period of the movement, the situation was then under the harsh environments. It was so bad for our ancestors to move from mainland China to Taiwan. An old Taiwanese saying revealed the result of movement from mainland China to Taiwan clearly. That is, 6 persons died, 3 stayed, and 1 changed his mind and returned back. It is describing appropriately how tough the job our ancestors had been faced while moved from mainland China by sailing ancient logs across the racing and plunging troubled seas of Taiwan Strait. A group of them landed in the estuary of Danshui River in northern Taiwan. They brought along with them the small statuettes representing the great ancestor and patron saint of their original Anxi hometown. Then, they moved along the Danshui River upward to find a better farmland. And finally, they settled down at Sakaying, the present city of Sanxia. They constructed their small祖师Temple. The small statuette was placed inside of it as a source of spiritual strength in 1769. And this is the reason why there are 3 Zusi temples were erected along the inland Danshui River in northern Taiwan. The first one is三峡祖师 Temple, which was originally built in 1769, but unfortunately, there is no information available about what kind of the building shape of it. The second one is三峡祖师 Temple, was erected in 1787. And the third one, Danshui祖师 Temple, was constructed in 1932. 三峡祖师 Temple has been classified as belonging to one of the temples which is built as the spiritual center of a commitment to spirit for a crowd of people from Anxi, Quanzhou. Presentation Part 3, Settlement and Development. The early days of Sanxia, they say the first one of Sanxia's pioneers, named Chen Yu, immigrated from Quanzhou, Fujian to reclaim westland of Haisanzhuang, the present town including Yingge and Sanxia, in 1685. But on official records, it shows the first pioneer was Dong Rizhu from Anxi, Quanzhou, who reclaimed westland under cultivation of Sakak-ing, the present town of Sanxia, in 1755. Sanxia is a small traditional Taiwanese town located in southwest corner of New Taipei City. In the past, the small settlement was originally named Sakak-ing after its location at the confluence of the 3 tidal rivers of Dahan River, Sanxia River, and Heng River, and was given its present name of Sanxia in 1920. So please attention, remember that Sanxia equals to Sakak-ing. Sakak-ing is Sanxia. Sanxia nestled where fertile plains meet high mountain foothills. Blessed with the convenient inland Sanxia River transport, offered excellent conditions for development in the early years of Sanxia's settlement by the migrated Chinese people, mostly from Anxi, Quanzhou. In the past, Sanxia's major trades were tea making, blue dyeing, and camphor. It quickly became a hub of a thriving waterway transport network with the Sanxia Strait as the transaction center. The goods were transported to the piers via the Sanxia River to where they were needed. In the heydays, there were about 60 small red-head boats sailing back and forth along the Sanxia River to Xinzhuang, Manga, Dadaoceng, and Danshui. By 1933, after construction of Sanxia Rainbow Bridge was completed, it declared the ending of Sanxia's inland river transport. Unavoidably, Sanxia's golden age faded as the use of inland river transportation declined, and transport was superseded by railways and highways, and gradually lost its importance as a commercial center by around 1960. Young people moved to the cities for a better future as their elders were left behind reminiscing about the past glory of Sanxia. As it developed in the early times, the ancient architectures and traditional culture passed down to us, allow us to feel the past prosperity of Sanxia. Presentation Part 4, Sanxia comes to life once more again. Ensconced in the outlying town of Sanxia, in a quite auspicious location at the confluence of 3 tidal rivers, stands the 2-century-old Zusi Temple with Sanxia Old Street. Zusi Temple's peaceful interior, illuminated by the myriad tiny flames of red candles, filled with the heady smell of lighted incense sticks in the air, has the power to stop fidgeting, set our troubled minds at ease. At the opposite side of the Changfu Bridge, we often see busloads of domestic and foreign tourists arrive. Following their tour guides, the tourists have a chance to get a better look at this famous site. They are told about the history of the temple, the sculptures on the walls and columns, the structure of the temple, and its current situation. Then they happily leave and go on their next visiting site. Individuals also come in, with lighted incense sticks in their hands and their offerings on a table in the front hall. They pray silently to the gods. Since that these are repeated and repeated from sun up to sundown, day after day, year after year. However, the temple still stands there and the workers still sweat away in the same back room to restore the temple. This is the famous Zhusi Temple in the little town of Sanxia, New Taipei City. As other temples across Taiwan, Chinese people go there to beseech their gods for fortune or favor, and to show respect to their ancestors. In historical perspective of Sanxia's proud Zhusi Temple, it has been classified as belonging to the folk custom and belief, and to this day, Sanxia Zhusi Temple not only playing the important role as a spiritual center for Sanxia's local residents, but a palace of folk art, museum of Eastern art. These are examples of Zhusi Temple's delicate wood carvings of classical Chinese phoenix, the richly decorated castle ceilings, the stone order carving of the key highlights of the collections, and unbelievable examples of cast-in bronze door god sculptures, and the imitation copper reliefs, which few would expect people to realize that these works could be presented in temples. Presentation Part 5. 4 visiting tips about Sanxia Zhusi Temple. The first special feature of Sanxia Zhusi Temple is the temple rebuilding supervisor, a painting artist, the crucial key man, Professor Li Meisu. Because Professor Li's various artistic styles, with which thoroughly decorated by the traditional skilled folk craftsmen's masterpieces, and expressed with wonderful workmanship in Zhusi Temple, with its elaborate wood and stone works, the ornately decorated structure is also visited each year by folk art enthusiasts from throughout Taiwan and all over the world. Tourists are immediately impressed by the temple's delicate wood carvings, stone etchings, cast-in bronze door god sculptures, and imitation copper reliefs, the decorated bracket of phoenixes, the richly decorated castles, and so on. Located 30 kilometers southwest of New Taipei City, Sanxia Zhusi Temple is considered by scholars to be of high artistic and historic value. Much of the credit for the preservation of the temple and its beautiful works of folk art goes to Professor Li. Therefore, Zhusi Temple is not only the sanctuary but also a museum of Chinese culture, modern times art, history, and religion. School students on field trips view the place as an educational museum. The artistic designed Zhusi Temple is more than 200 years old. It's dedicated to the memory of Anxi patron saint,清水祖师公. The temple in memorial of him was built here by people who had migrated from their original Anxi hometown and finally settled down in Sanxia. Sanxia Zhusi Temple was originally built in 1769. Over the decades, it had faced natural and man-made disasters, including a destructive earthquake in 1833, but then rebuilt in the same year. This is the first time reconstruction of Zhusi Temple. At the end of the Sino-Japanese War in 1894, the Qing dynasty conceded Taiwan to Japanese rule. When the residents in Sanxia learned about this, they revolted against the new government. Unfortunately, the uprisings failed, and Japanese forces retaliated by burning down all the buildings in Sanxia, including Sanxia Old Street and三峡祖师Temple. They were razed to the ground in 1895. 4 years later,祖师Temple was again rebuilt by the 36-year-old Zhangzhou sect wood construction master Chen Yingbin in 1899. This is the second time rebuilding of祖师Temple. In 1947, 2 years after Taiwan was retroceded to Chinese rule,祖师Temple had already stood there after almost half a century of weathering. However, its construction situation was then in urgent need of restoration, so from 1947 to 1983, a painting artist, Professor Li Meishu, superintended the third time rebuilding process of祖师Temple. Professor Li Meishu was a Sanxia native and a well-known artist who studied Western painting in Japan, but found his mission of calling back home in the field of traditional Chinese art. Professor Li Meishu died in 1983 at the age of 82. He devoted nearly half of his life to the renovation project, working diligently for 36 years to restore and embellish the architectural beauty of the temple. He wanted to make the temple a sanctuary of Asian sculpture by preserving traditional folk sculpturing skills in the temple, so that future generations could also have a chance to see them. The second special feature of Sanxia祖师Temple. What a surprise! The following exist examples of cast-in bronze door god sculptures and imitation copper reliefs, which few would expect people to realize about these works could be presented in temples. The cast-in bronze door gods in Dragon Hall. This imitation copper relief shows the south-pointing chariot. The south-pointing carriage was an ancient Chinese two-wheel vehicle that carried a movable pointer to indicate the south, not matter how the chariot turned. Usually, the pointer took the form of a doll or figure with an outstretched arm. The chariot was supposedly used as a compass for navigation. In Chinese mythology and in the Chinese legend of Huang Di, who invented a guiding device, the south-pointing chariot, this relief expresses the symbol of science. This relief shows Confucius asking for advice about etiquette from Lao Tzu. Confucius was a Chinese teacher, editor, politician, and philosopher of the spring and autumn period of Chinese history. He was declared the extremely sage departed teacher, and also known separately as the Great Sage, first teacher, and model teacher for 10,000 ages. Lao Tzu was a philosopher and a poet of ancient China. He is known as the reputed author of the Tao Te Ching and the founder of philosophical Taoism, and as a deity in religious Taoism and traditional Chinese religions. This relief shows that even the great sage, the first teacher, asked for advice about etiquette from Lao Tzu and expressed the symbol of morality. This is the cast-in bronze door guards in Sanchuan Hall. Imitation copper relief in Sanchuan Hall. This relief shows the patriotic general Yue Fei. Yue Fei was a military general who lived in the southern Song dynasty. He is best known for leading Southern Song forces in the wars in the 12th century between Southern Song and Jin dynasty in northern China, before being put to death for an unwarranted charge by the Southern Song government in 1142. This relief shows that Yue Fei is famous for his loyalty to his country and symbolized as fidelity. Hua Mulan is a legendary woman warrior from the southern and northern dynasties of China, who was originally described in a ballad known as the Ballad of Mulan. In the ballad, Hua Mulan takes her aged father's place in the army. She was known for practicing martial arts such as Kung Fu and for being skilled with the sword. She fought for 12 years and gained high merit, but she refused any reward and retired to her hometown instead. This relief we named the heroine Mulan goes to war in her father's place, and which shows filial piety. Imitation cover reliefs in Tiger Hall. This one shows King Goujian of Yue. Goujian was the king of the kingdom of Yue near the end of the spring and autumn period of Chinese history. King Goujian of Yue fought with King Fucai of Wu. Unfortunately, Yue was defeated by Wu. Goujian lost his kingdom and was put to be a slave to serve King Fucai of Wu for 3 years, until he was eventually allowed to return to his native state. While ruling his kingdom, Goujian never relished kingly riches, but instead ate food suited for peasants, as well as forcing himself to taste bile in order to remember his humiliations while serving under the state of Wu. A Chinese idiom, sleeping on sticks and tasting gold, refers to Goujian's perseverance. This relief shows Tiandan's fire catacombs. Tiandan was a general of the major state of Qi during the Warring States period of ancient China. He was known for a spectacular military tactic called the fire catacombs. After the kingdom was nearly destroyed under King Min of Qi in 284 BC, he helped regain its territory, and more than 70 cities had returned back to Qi. The relief is called Tiandan's fire catacombs, which implies making use of military tactics to win victory through unexpected moves to counterattack and retake the lost territory of mainland China at the history background about 1950s Taiwan government. The third special feature of Sanxia Zushi Temple, the stone etching of the key highlights of the collections, the famous 100 birds perched on the branches of the plum tree order. The third special feature of Sanxia Zushi Temple is the middle pair of column order which were erected at the front of main hall, known as the 100 birds perched on the branches of the plum tree. The art of stonework with 100 birds amid plum blossoms, 50 birds of different species and in various poses have been sculpted into each of the 2 stone pillars. Included are native Taiwan birds and species from throughout Asia, Africa, and America. The artist Li Meisu supervised the restoration of the Zushi Temple in Sanxia, New Taipei City. Not only has it been called a hall of Eastern art, it is also a temple of birds that any ornithologist visiting Taiwan must visit. In a survey by the Taiwan International Birding Association (TIBA) in 2006, the carvings inside the temple included more than 1,000 birds of 106 different kinds. Of these, 7 kinds are unique to Taiwan. Thanks to the internet and the spread of photographs, the Zushi Temple is now the world's best-known temple of birds. Simon Liao, president of the TIBA, said most visitors to the temple focus on the carvings. When Liao and a Canadian friend visited in 2006, they discovered that most carvings in the temple were stone carvings of birds, creating a breathtaking impression of a flock of thousands of birds. Liao and some of his foreign friends spent 5 months taking pictures of the more than 1,000 stone bird carvings in the temple, archiving them and then checking the species one by one. In the end, they had confirmed 106 different kinds of bird, including Formosan blue magpie, Taiwan whistling thrush, Taiwan firecrest, Taiwan bush warbler, white-eared sepia, Formosan laughing thrush, and white-whiskered laughing thrush, which all are unique to Taiwan. The fourth special feature of Sanxia Zushi Temple, temple history background. The history background, which stems from the important government policy concerning Chinese cultural renaissance movement around November 1966 in Taiwan. Achievement of the Museum of Eastern Art. The four craftsmen's efforts based on the history background and to achieve the perfection of their art made of this temple what became known as the famous Museum of Eastern Art, Temple of Birds. Reminiscing to the whole people who settled down in Sanxia, inside the temple can seem like a movie set or a dream trip back to a time long past. Thanks to the forerunner, thanks to the efforts of Professor Li and many of the other skilled craftsmen who had dedicated their lives to the temple, it is all delightfully real. About this film, Dreaming Sagakyeng, The Beauty of Sagakyeng Old Tree and Sanxia Zushi Temple, was compiled by Edward Wu. The film and content as mentioned above, purely Edward Wu's personal point of view only. If you have the respected opinion, please inform and enlighten me and give me your advice. Let's enrich it and working in concert to make it better. Thank you for your attention and wish you have a nice day.